And welcome back into Open Line. We're glad that you're joining us this evening here with Kevin Kennedy, our legal expert. We love it when Kevin's here. Kevin, just a perfect example. Our last caller, great question. But Kevin, you know, many times we say be careful what you say. You don't want to say too much. You interceded at just the right point because, again, sometimes things that you do say are used against you.
Absolutely. It gets into the interpretation of the facts. And I like to share this on your insurance policy because the first thing the insurance calls you is that we'd like to take a tape recorded statement, Chuck. Okay, we're honest people. We tell it all. Well, guess what? They're very skilled into maneuvering you into an exclusion. Is this all that's said? And they'll punch the tape off. And I said, well, I'm sorry, your claim is denied because you didn't have coverage on this. So at those points, always get a lawyer, talk to them privately, and let's go through it because that makes a big difference in a lot of people's lives.
It really does. All right, if you do have one of those legal questions or comments, you are welcome. We would love to hear from you. It also helps a lot of other people that you're not even aware of. So if you have one of those questions, 737-7587 is the number. It's right there on your screen. We are going back to the line right now. We are going to Rhonda. Rhonda, we're glad that you're watching Open Line tonight. What's your question for Kevin?
Good evening. I've got two questions, if I might, on two different subjects.
Sure.
First one has to do with, there's some legislation before Congress right now that would guarantee anyone who's eligible for Social Security, you know, who's put in the 30 quarters or 30 years, whatever it is, a minimum benefit equivalent to 125% above the poverty rate. Actually, that was President Biden's proposal. I think the legislation before Congress is at 100%, so I'm assuming that he's kind of compromising or whatever. I don't know, but the status of this legislation is, according to Congress.gov, that it's kind of on hold at this point. And I'm wondering if it does pass, if it would be subjected to means testing, so that even if you're eligible, but they think you have too much money or something. Because I guess maybe the broader question would be, what is subject to means testing and what is not? And then the second question is involving. I'm in the process now of redoing. Well, I've just changed my will, and I've created a trust. And I'm in the process now of putting things in the trust. And one of the things that I understand needs to be in the trust is my automobile. Now, it's 7 years old, so hopefully by the time I die, it won't even be an issue. But if it is, I just realized that in a move, I lost the title to my car. I can't find it. But, I mean, it's, you know, I go through every year with the, you know, auto the emissions, and I get my license, and they've never asked for the title of my car. But is there something other than going through the DMV or something to get that all straightened out?
Well, thank you for the questions on that title. You can always apply for a lost title. People lose them all the time, so you can get your title. And what the point she made is if she was going to put this property in a trust, you no longer own it. The trust owns it, and there can be a host of legal issues while we put things in trust. Will you put things in trust for your children? Because it might protect them from a divorce. Because if you've got a trust, it could be interpreted differently. I'm going to go back and address that legislative problem about Social Security. First off, the legislature can pass laws at any time, and guess what? They can go back and change those laws at any time. So, you know, I have people all the time say, well, I've been in the military and this is guaranteed. Well, it's guaranteed until new legislation comes through and they change the law. So that is still open for interpretation, whether it's 100% or 125%. And the means, my personal opinion is, oh yes, there's going to be a footnote somewhere that's not going to allow you to have millions of dollars somewhere and then get this above the poverty line. There's a host of things to dance and look at, but that would be my gut feeling. The purpose, what is the legislative intent? It's to raise people's standard of living so that they would be raised above the poverty level. So it's not meant for people to divert their assets and play games. Thank you for the question.
Absolutely. So, and once again, complicated, but you make it easy to understand. So that's always helpful. All right, let's go back to our lines right now. Don is on the line with us. Don, good evening. Do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Kennedy. I was involved in a accident wreck or whatever, where a drunk driver, he hit the dump truck driver. The dump truck driver hit me. I didn't have insurance on my vehicle, and so when I go to one of the big wig law firms, they say, well, you know, first they say they're going to take my case, and then they say they're not going to take it. So now the videotape of the whole accident has been erased because time has lapsed. I'm just wondering, man, do I even have a case? Because right now, I'm, you know, everything is on me to fix my truck. I even went to the hospital. My leg got injured. The lawyer told me there's a victim's compensation fund. The woman told me, said, well, it's got to do with property damage. We can't cover that. So now I'm at a point where I don't went to every avenue, and it just seemed like to me I got a busted vehicle. The truck driver, the way the police officer wrote the accident report off, he gets the truck driver off. The guy had 50, 60 feet to stop his big dump truck from hitting me. Went across the yellow line, slammed into me, tore my truck all up. The drunk drivers went to jail, and I'm at a point where I gave out a lot of personal information to the law firm, and the law firm won't even call me back to even say, well, we're going to release you out of this contract that you done signed with us.
Well, let me say this,
Don. $250 an hour.
Yeah, I'm very sad to hear your circumstances, and you thought you were doing right going to that law firm. So what I like to go back to, a good understanding keeps down a misunderstanding. When you go to a prospective law firm and they say, we're going to take the case, then you should have a good understanding. Does that mean we're going to settle the case, or you're going to take it contingent that there is insurance? See, a lot of cases, people have a wreck and there's no insurance. So they'll take the case, they pursue it. Well, guess what? There's nothing at the well. You say, well, Kevin, get me some water. There's nothing there. So it's incumbent upon you to immediately assess and see if we do have it. You know, people put on the accident report, yes, I've got State Farm, yes, I've got Allstate. And then when we get there, they have let it lapse and there is no coverage. So what is the lesson to learn from Don's accident? You should always have uninsured motorists on yourself, because more and more wrecks are happening with no insurance. So I personally had one. So then you have to go back on your insurance. So your insurance company actually steps into the place of the one who's responsible, and you can make a claim and litigate there and get your compensation. So I like for you to get a friend, go see these lawyers and ask the question, you know, what are y'all going to do? Are we released? A good understanding keeps down a misunderstanding. Is there anything else you can pursue? All right, thank you, Don.
Absolutely, and great advice too, to take a friend with you when you go.
Because it's so complicated, sometimes do you really understand? It takes two of you to hear what they're saying. I say this with doctors, a husband and wife. Well, you need to do this, this, and this. It takes both of you to try to figure out, okay, did he say this? And then let's leave.
Well, and another question too, like I do this with the doctors all the time, because a lot of times when you're talking to a doctor about a particular issue, your mind starts wondering about something else, and they start going on. I always record it, and they're always fine. I say, you know, do you mind if I record it with my phone, just so that when I get home, some of the things that I missed. Can you do the same when you're talking with your lawyer?
You could, but remember this. We've got the precious thing called attorney-client privilege. You never want to give that up. You'll have somebody say, you give up your attorney-client privilege? Absolutely not. Never give it up. Never. And because if we tape each other, there's a tape there, somebody can subpoena, and you've got to turn it. Well, they've heard every bit of strategy that we've talked about. They know our sensitive areas. They know our strength areas. Well, if you let an enemy know our strength and our weakness, then we've lost half the battle. So again, I really wouldn't do that. I really would. You got to find a lawyer you can trust. One of my old friends said, Kevin, you need a preacher you can believe in and a lawyer you can trust. I concur. And if I didn't get the good vibes where I can trust them, I need to go find another lawyer.
All right, I'm glad I asked that. So again, great advice. Thank you so much on that. All right, so we're going back to the lines again, and Brenda is on the line with us. Brenda, we're glad that you're joining us on OpenLine. What's your question for Kevin?
Yes, I need to find out who can come into the state of Tennessee and clean up this problem that we have out of Dixon County and Burns, Tennessee, and Charlotte, Tennessee. There's some prominent families, and they're ex-judges, ex-governors, ex-lawyers, and ex-police officers, because the police department in Dixon County does not even exist. We have a lot of problems where that people are being harmed. This has been going on at least since 2007 that I know of, because I am a victim. My whole family are a victim of this mess that's going on in the state of Tennessee. Frank G. Clemens and Bob Clemens, Andrew Jackson, there's his whole family. He's an ex-juvenile judge. There's also some other lawyers, and they're staying in Nashville, and they're causing a lot of problems. And the thing is, they have made people believe that so many people of any walk of life is deceased all over the state of Tennessee, all over the USA. And there's people now that are sitting in places that have to sit there because they've either stole their homes, their property, their land, their money. They go in and they steal government funds out of government accounts, out of individuals' accounts. I've had money stolen. My father, he is a victim of stolen account.
Well, let me share this with you. You know, whenever you have a situation, and we all understand that these potential conflicts can arise. That's why we have the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. And if you've got a complaint, you can go and see those people. If they don't get it done, or you feel like they're not addressing the issues properly, then you should make an appointment with the FBI. And you can go and share those concerns and let them do an investigation. There's a host of governmental institutions that can investigate this, and of course, if they're legitimately found, then they're going to pursue and they're going to prosecute. Under the law, we are all held to certain standards. And if Chuck's grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother controlled all of these things, that does not excuse Chuck. And there's some federal agencies that will hold him accountable. Thank you for your call, and good luck with your pursuits.
Absolutely. All right, we do need to take a short break, but when we come back, more of your calls right here on Open Line.